You know, owning a Ferrari kind of sucks. Because not only does everyone think you're a pretentious everywhere you go, but there's no aftermarket parts available. And obviously there is an aftermarket for these cars. It is a Ferrari after all, so finding things like an exhaust or suspension or wheels is available. So even these BBS LMs, which are a pretty common wheel, are off a Nissan 240SX that I had to re-drill. They don't make 5x108 18-inch BBS LMs. And inside, we have some Recaro Pole Positions. Even the seat rails are actually garagistic rails for a BMW E36. Because I couldn't find anything that worked for my application and not run with a slider. Which brings me to my least favorite part of this car, the front end. The 360 is pretty soft with the headlights, but then the other design cue that makes absolutely no sense is this. Why does your front bumper stop here? This looks absolutely ridiculous.
Oh my God. Disrespect.
That's forum day low car spec.
You're killing it, bro.
That's like pre-internet.
No, you're killing it.
You fuck.
It doesn't look aggressive. It doesn't look low. It's just kind of silly. I want to get rid of this, but guess what? There are pretty much no options out there. My friend Arios in Japan actually makes a body kit for the 360 that looks pretty sick. He's been drifting with his for the last like 10 years. But I found something I really wanted local here in California. The only problem is that it's about 3 hours south in San Diego. So let's go take a trip. And companies like Novitec exist, and they used to make kits for the car, but this thing's 25 years old. They're no longer available. They're not making them anymore. You can't find them. And sorry to all the millennials who just realized that 2000 was 25 years ago. We're old.
My neck and my back. Oh.
And then you have the Ferrari race stuff. Because back when these cars were new, they had the Ferrari World Challenge Series. So all of the race teams had custom bumpers and different bumpers and body kits and aero bits for the car. But again, finding those parts are impossible. These were consumables 20 years ago plus. These haven't been raced in a long time, and a lot of the people that had these parts kicking around aren't listing them for sale, or they've just kind of disappeared. And lastly, you have something like Scotto's car, which is the NGT kit. And those are the most popular of the body kits that are available for this car, but even popular is a stretch. They're pretty hard to find. And when you do, that kit can be almost $20,000. The front bumper alone, I've seen selling for around the $7,000 price point. And I'm not gonna pay that for a carbon fiber bumper that you're probably gonna smash on a rock in the canyons or something. Also, it's not super my style. I don't love all the carbon fiber ducks.
So I'm done.
I found something really cool, really random, something that I haven't seen anywhere on the internet. We're gonna take a drive down to San Diego. Hopefully it doesn't look like a pile of trash. We can start making the front end of this car look a bit cooler. Come on, champ. Just like 6 hours in the car, but it was worth it. This is a full custom front bumper from a Ferrari Challenge car. So the guy I picked this up from actually ran a composite shop down in San Diego. He had nothing to do with a Ferrari race team and was asked to make this bumper for a race team. And he says that he only made 2 of them. He hasn't seen anything like it in existence. So pretty rare, unique piece. The major differences is you could see that really gross front end piece there that kind of swoops up in the middle. Completely got rid of it. Flat bottom, lowers the bumper quite a bit. It's even got a full carbon fiber front splitter. And then the other piece that I really like, it changes the side of the bumper here because we have this little air vent here and then the side marker. It's got a huge side vent, no side marker. Instead of the slatted grills on the bumper here, we have some nice mesh. So this thing is super cool. I'm really excited for it. I have no idea how it's gonna fit. I know a lot of times composite parts could be a little wonky. Let's throw this thing on real quick, test it up, and then I'm gonna pull it back off, drop it off to paint. This thing's gonna be ready to rock. Luckily, pulling off the bumper on this car is really easy. 2 bolts on each side in the fender well, and then 2 bolts on each side in the trunk, and then it pulls right off. It should be really quick, thank God, because I'm really hot, sweating already. Let's get this bumper off. The Ferrari continues to be one of the easiest cars I've ever worked on. Bumper came off in probably 4 minutes. Look at how much cooler the new bumper is. Holy hell. Yeah, damn, that's so much sicker. This is so heavy also. Let's weigh this thing real quick. 62 to 47. Save 15 pounds on a front bumper? That's pretty good. Oh my God. It looks so much cooler. And honestly, the fitment looks pretty nice. Oh man, that vent is so sick. I took the splitter off because I really just wanted to get the bumper situated so I could make sure I could bring it to paint. Oh, it's so cool. I'm gonna put the stock bumper back on and then I'm gonna go drop this thing off at the body shop. And in the meantime, we'll run down to Nitron. We'll get the axle lift set up on the car. And then hopefully later this week, the bumper will be done and this thing will be looking so much better. I'm gonna see if I can pick up a couple more little bits to improve the look of it. I'm stoked. You wanna come check it out? Dude, check it out. It's so sick. You can't. Look at it. It's got like a flat bottom. You see the okay. All right, so we took a trip out here to Murrieta, California to the Nitron Suspension headquarters. They just moved here from the UK. This is their first spot in the United States. We're actually coming here to help set up one of their first axle lifts for the car because the 360 needs it. What's up, man?
Hey.
How's it going? This is Guy. This is the owner of Nitron Suspension from the UK, now relocated into California.
Loving it.
Of course. How can you complain?
Not going back.
Yeah. I mean, you came from a world of rain to perpetual sunshine. So
Yes.
how could it be bad?
Yeah. I mean, it's just great here. You know, it really is sunny all the time. That's what I love.
You guys aren't even officially open here yet.
Not yet. We're still building it out. It's still a lot to fit in, and we're effectively trying to get all the things in place before we let people come here.
Right.
Otherwise, they're going to come here with demands that we can't fulfill. We want to be up and running properly.
But when I started seeing Nitron years ago, all the Team Shermer cars running around the ring, some of the coolest stuff. What I really loved about them is they make complete kits for the car, so you don't have to like piecemeal your stuff together. And the fact that we're gonna have that in the United States now, great. I already like it. You got like the surgical room here for suspension setup.
So here we've got this is the tail end of where we put the stuff together. Stainless steel benches, obviously you've got the lister cabinets, big bit of Europe going on there. White vices, if anyone's seen the Formula One workshops, it's white vices.
Yeah, these are nice.
Some 3D printed parts, which I've been assessing. I've got to go back to the UK on Sunday, and I'll be taking these back for fitment checks, air-cooled Porsche.
So like lots of development work, testing stuff here.
Testing, 3D printing. We're setting up the 3D printer so they can send files from the UK overnight, and then it can 3D print. So
Nice. And then I saw some interesting stuff over here. You got some shock dynos.
this is a 5 horsepower, and that's a 2 horsepower. We plan to be busy enough, we'll be using both of them at the same time. Every shock gets tested. Every shock has its own serial number. The serial numbers are effectively stored on the server. The server here is linked to the server in the UK. One big package. Each time we test it, it comes up with a graph, example graph here, and we can see how the compression's working, how the rebounds work, make adjustments on the fly. They're all calibrated.
Nice. And then this is also part of this whole system.
So when we're building the shocks, we build them dry. Dry assemble them, nice and clean. All the grease stays in the place it's meant to be. We'll hook them up to these hoses, and then we'll suck all the air out under vacuum. So once the shock is completely evacuated, we can then put the oil in under pressure. We'll give it a wetting, like a priming. Then we'll pull the oil back out, and then we'll put it back in again. So that's what this machine here does. And they're filled with nitrogen. The nitrogen compresses the oil, and if we're putting, say, 10 atmospheres in, 150 psi, it's really squeezing that.
That's super cool. You don't even think about all that. And then you have a spring dyno as well?
Yeah. So this is a spring tester. We can put single springs in, combination springs in, motorcycle fork springs in. I'll open the door. So the spring sits in here, electric motor in here, pushes up on this shaft here, and that's the load cell, so that's giving the electronic reading, and then we get a graph.
Honestly, I love it. It's so cool because suspension could be so complicated, but honestly, it's that one piece of the car where if you get dampers that ride like crap, it's really could make or break not only the performance of the car, but like how enjoyable it is. So it's really cool to see everything that goes into it. And this is my kit.
This is your kit, boxed up, sealed, ready to go.
So I haven't explained this yet. We're actually going to be changing out the entire suspension system on the 360. Nitron actually redeveloped their 360 kit for better reservoir placement and also to complement the axle lift systems. Even though my dampers are fairly new, we're going to do a whole new kit on it. And then we got the piece that I was waiting for and what will allow us to finally put this kit on the 360, which is the front axle lift. Oh wow, so this is like a nice full complete kit. Like even this wiring looks pretty simple. I hate doing wiring and it's terrifying, but this looks pretty easy. Everything's labeled, a couple little things in a box. Fairly straightforward. Some lines that we run to the shocks, the pump that we mount to the car, and then we got the wiring to turn it on. It doesn't look too bad. Guy is not the tech here. He's gonna be helping me today. So we're gonna pull the car around back, throw this thing up on the lift, and then we're gonna start getting this thing installed. This is something that I always get kind of confused. And I know a lot of you guys out there, especially a lot of my friends who are like hardcore track guys, actually get this wrong. The point of the reservoir, well, I'll let you explain it. Point of the reservoir and what's in it.
So the reservoir allows us to isolate rebound control from compression control. We can split the two apart. You can adjust rebound, adjust compression. You're not crossing over between them.
Okay.
It has other benefits too. There's more oil in the system. That's a higher heat capacity. When you look at the shop, you've got solid oil in this part here. Solid all the way through here into the reservoir. You've got oil up to about here in the reservoir. Then there's a floating disc, and behind that is the nitrogen. So as you push this rod in, it's a bit like putting your finger into a full glass of water. If that glass is full, you put your finger in, oil is going to flow out. Same thing here. When you push this rod in, oil must come out here because this is totally full. So the oil comes out here, goes through this head here, this valve, where we can change its restriction. And as the oil flows into here, this nitrogen compresses by the amount of rod that you put in. Put an inch of rod in, the same volume of nitrogen will compress.
And are these adjustable with nitrogen, or they pre-fill and stay?
So we pre-fill them through here.
Yep.
So behind that screw, there's actually a rubber bung, and we pierce that rubber with a hypodermic needle attached to the nitrogen cylinder. So we put the pressure in that we need, and as we extract the hypodermic, it self-seals on the rubber.
Wow.
Then there's a screw that just stops dirt getting in.
So one time, or do you have to service those?
No, one time. They're good. They're good for life.
So the plan is to mount these onto this right here. You're gonna put them evenly spaced. This way on the outside, you could adjust your high speed and low speed compression. And then these lines will live under here because you don't need access to the dry brakes at all time. First route is gonna go right through here. Nice precision joint. This one's gonna go through right here.
Those are cushions, yes. Yeah.
We got all the dampers fitted on the car. We knew that was going to be super easy. So it's a very straightforward swap. We've got the trunk pulled apart. We got all the lines ran. I mounted up the reservoirs to this front piece right here. And the next part is installing the axle lift kit. What we've got here is pretty simple. It's a pump, some lines that tee off and go to the shocks. We have the power control module, which is really simple. It's got a power, a direct power, a 12-volt power, a ground. These go to the pump. And there's switches in the car. It's a very straightforward process, so it should be easy. I think the hardest thing is just gonna be like routing the lines into the car.
I bloody hope so.
In case you aren't familiar with how the front axle lift works, this pump here pumps hydraulic fluid out of the pump into a T, and then what it's doing is actually filling up a cup here on top of the spring that will expand, making the shock longer. That's how you're gonna get that lift out of the car that'll help me get in and out of driveways and gas stations and whatever. So we were just looking around on where we should mount this pump, and I actually came up with a pretty good idea. Continuing to use this block-off plate here. These parts are not really under any stress. They'll sit pretty still once they're all mounted. What we could do is actually bolt the pump to this piece, take the tire inflator bag, cut it, slip it over, run the original packaging. Under the hood, you'll see the Nitron canisters. We could actually hide the front axle lift pump, which I think will be pretty cool. It's super nice because you can pull the whole thing out if needed. Also, won't eat up more trunk space because the trunk is pretty small. Having it on the ground will certainly take up a lot of room. This will actually keep it neat and tidy, kind of like what is in there from the factory. Is there a couple washers on there?
Yep. Nice.
I'm gonna put one on all together.
Yes, right. Hold that.
All right, look at that. I love when a plan comes together. Look at this. We got the reservoirs mounted, and then we mounted the pump here in this bag that held the original spare tire inflator. So we have that mounted up with some isolator bushings, and we got a metal plate down here. So this is nice and stealth, kind of looks OEM. My style, I'm stoked on this. This was a nice little hack. Last things we gotta do, we got all the power wires ran, we got all of the plumbing ran. We're pretty much ready. I mean, I think we just gotta connect the front shocks to the pump, and that's really it.
We run it self-bleeds. We run it about 6 times, self-bleeds. We're done.
Other nice OEM piece is we mounted the module where the CD changer was because we no longer run the CD changer. So this actually bolted in exactly where that went. So we have a nice little hard mount here, and then we're gonna tidy up these wires, just kind of zip tie them up, and this thing should be back together. So the last thing we have to do is connect the line that comes off of the pump to the shocks. We have this dry brake here, which is super helpful for install and removing. And then we have the T, which will have banjo bolts, and then these lines that run out to the shock here. So we're gonna run that to the front axle lift slave unit here. So this will actually expand once we have the fluid in it. So I found the perfect place to mount up the switch, right on the panel that has the traction control and the sport button. There's just a nice little open space. So all I had to do was drill a little hole, feed the wires through, and this should be a really easy spot to get all the rest of the wiring to. All right, so we got everything in. The panel is not bolted down yet, but basically here's the setup. We got the 2 reservoirs, we've got the pump. Now all we gotta do is test it. Battery on, we gotta go key on. There it goes. Okay, now press it again. Yep, going down, perfect. So all systems are good. We tested the system 6 times, got all the air out of it. None of us here are wiring guys, so we're all proud that we managed to wire up this really simple kit. It's all in, it seems to be working great. So the next step is we're gonna put the wheels on, make sure the ride height is set accordingly. I'm gonna have to go take this to get in alignment, but we'll do that another day. All right, we are all done. The car is sitting absolutely perfect. We took some time and dialed in the ride height because I wanted to kind of even out the car and lower it down a little bit more. And it is absolutely awesome. And I couldn't be more happy with how this looks up here. We've got the reservoirs mounted, and I love that we fit the pump into the factory bag. I think it looks super cool. Still got to put all the bolts in here, but we wanted to do some testing. But overall, this thing's great. Wow, that's a lot.
Just over 1.5 inches.
That's gonna be tremendous. That's incredible. Nice work, we did it, we did it, we did it. One day, not bad. Hell yeah, thank you. Oh, the ride height looks perfect. Let's go pick up that bumper, smash this thing on, because I wanna see this car looking closer to done so bad. All right, we made it back from Nitron. I even went, got in alignment, shout out ChewWorks. Another casualty along the way. The car was a little bit too low, and I screwed up my fender again. Probably gonna have to repaint the front of the car, or I'm gonna have to commit to doing the color change sooner than I thought, because these fenders are destroyed now. On a positive note, we got the bumper back. Shout out to the guys at Beach City. They're right by my shop. Big thank you to them for doing it quick. It looks great. We're curious about the color match. They did scan it in a couple places, but realistically, this paint's pretty old. We'll see how it looks, but I'm not super concerned. As long as it's close, I'm gonna be really happy, because it's only gonna be a temporary until I gotta repaint the whole front end of the car or change the color of the car, which is probably that. Let's get this thing on, because I'm so excited to see what it looks like with the bumper and the splitter. We might adjust the ride height a little bit, and we're gonna fix those fenders. Really like how dumped it is, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Everything has to be harder than it seems. So I put the bumper on, and I knew that the side brackets over here didn't work like OEM. So you can see here how the OEM bumper mounts. A bracket on the side has 2 male threads on it. On this bumper, there's just like a slot. So I came up with a solution. I just spent like 2 hours making it, and that doesn't work either, because there's nowhere to bolt the bumper on here anymore. This little method I came up with having a track for the bumper to slide into doesn't actually work. Not having a good time. So here's where we're at. Came up with a way to mount the bumper using the fender. Just gotta drill some holes, and it should be fairly easy. And because I don't feel like hacking up a Ferrari, you know, I'll use some OEM hardware. Go and just grab a couple of these puppies off the original bumper. These are gonna be great. Chop a little piece of the fender here and slip that one in here. Then we'll bolt the bumper up to that. Let's give it a shot. Even without the splitter on, it looks So sick. So much more aggressive. And the paint match looks okay. You can't really tell how paint matches under fluorescent lights. You got to see it in the direct sun. I think it's going to have a little bit more metallic than the rest of the car. I think it's going to be okay. We're going to mount up the splitter. Let's do it. It looks pretty sick, but I'm not going to show you just some crappy video on the car. We're going to go pick up Jolly and let's go get some beauties of this thing because it's pretty sick. Still pretty tough getting in and out. I'm really happy I got this lift installed because otherwise I don't think I'd be able to get in and out of my driveway.
Man, this is really sick.
It makes it a lot better, right? It's so much more aggressive.
Just watching you park from afar, like it looks so much more low. It looks less like a catfish.
I love it now. It's so cool.
So sick.
I love that you called it a Volkswagen mod because it's not like extreme. It's just like subtle.
Yeah, the smallest things. Like if you didn't say it, I was like, oh, I didn't even know you had side markers.
Right. I think it's modeled off of the factory bumper, so it's pretty sick. I like it.
It just filled in the gap that Ferrari decided we don't need this for us.
Why in the world?
Why?
This be the low point of the bumper? This is ridiculous.
He did a pretty sick job on matching the paint.
Yo, it looks pretty good. I mean, considering this paint is pretty old and crusty, I think it matches pretty nice.
You're kind of fool. I think this color has grown attached to your identity.
I know, but I still want to do something. I got to change the color because I've been wanting to do it forever. You know what? You want to know why? Hold on, take a look. See that right there?
Oh, no,
This has more body kit than that. I've really wanted to change the color since I got the car. So I gotta ask you guys, what should I do? Should I paint this thing? Should I wrap it? Or should I leave it as is? As much as I hated the color, now with the bumper, the wheels, and the interior color change, it looks pretty good. I love driving this thing. I'm not gonna sell it anytime soon, so don't think I'm just gonna ditch it. I gotta go hit the track with it. I got a couple other things planned with it, so you won't stop seeing the Ferrari on the channel. So thanks everyone who's been watching, been enjoying the series on the 360. I appreciate all you guys. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Making videos every Thursday. But for now, I gotta go decide what to do. So I'm out.